Page 3 now, the federal Leviathan, it continues to spin out of control. For more evidence, look no further than the federal government's human resources computers and its sprawling data breach. It's not 18 million Americans who had their personal information stolen. It's actually more than 30 million.
What is a new or unanticipated threat or hazard? Mr. Hess.
That would be an indication of compromise of a system or a failure of any of the system protections.
It doesn't actually have to be a loss, does it?
Not the way that I would define it.
Now, here's the really tough question, and I'll let both of you weigh in on this one because it is tough. What does the word immediately mean?
Without delay.
Without delay. Mr. Giannetta, is there another meaning that you're familiar with?
I think that's a good definition.
Now, if this data breach is not Exhibit A in the case against the bloated federal government, what is? Maybe the $18 trillion debt and the $200 trillion unfunded liability. Between the two, this country is quickly beginning to look a lot like Greece. Joining me now, president of Wilsey Asset Management and Daily Ledger contributor, Brent Wilsey. Brent, Greece, latest I heard, there is no deal still. What do you know?
Well, what I'm saying, Graham, is that I don't think there's going to be a deal. And that's the whole concern, like, oh, my gosh, you're going to default. I think they will default. I don't think it's that bad of a thing because what's going to happen is they're going to default. Europe is going to have to take up the slack. And this happened here in the country where we had people default on their loans. It happens. So it's going to be a short-term bad thing. But what's going to happen, we'll get through it. And then Greece, I think their currency was called the lira. I think they'll go back to that. Short-term, a bad problem, but Greece will be on sale. I mean, you can go to the Greek Isles for a very cheap amount. You'll be able to go to see the ruins and all this stuff. So I think long-term will be fine. And we've had defaults before. Short-term, it's scary. Long-term, it's okay.
So if they dump the euro, then will they also, do you think, exit the European Union?
I think they will, yeah. And again, it's a very tiny country. Short term will be a problem, but I think they'll get out completely and just be on their own. They won't be light, but be the opposite of what we have here. Because of our strong dollar, our exports are going down. Well, Greece, when they exit the euro and get out of this whole thing they're in, the lira will be very cheap. Great place to go to Greece, and I think their exports will go up, and 2 years down the road, oh, they'll be doing fine.
Well, that's a rosy picture, but if you look at Greece now and you look at their debt, and then you look at what we're doing in the United States, of course, we don't want to end up like Greece, but let's face it, we could eventually, if things continue the way they are, in my opinion, in terms of the debt that we're accumulating and putting it off and putting it off, how far away are we from a Greek scenario, a Greek tragedy?
We're pretty far away, Graham, because the difference with Greece is that Greece, all they really have is tourism. Here in the United States, we've got a great legal system, we've got great manufacturing, we've got a great highway system, we've got a lot of money spent on R&D, a great tourism. We have a lot of income that can be produced here in the United States, which in Greece, they don't have that. So while we have a high debt, we also have high income that can help pay that debt down. So as long as government doesn't get too crazy, and by the way, the Federal Reserve balance sheet that we're concerned about before is actually going down, not going up. So that's a positive. We just have to keep government contained from saying, wow, look at all this money we have we can spend now. Don't go that direction. Okay,
but we don't have a great GDP right now, and the government revised it up. It's not much prettier, I don't think, from a minus 0.7 to minus 0.2. Clearly an indication that the economy is struggling. At least it was in the first quarter.
And exactly, the first quarter they had problems with the weather back east, which we had last year. Also because of the strength of the dollar, exports went down. That hurt the GDP. So I think the second quarter will be better. It's not going to be a phenomenal like 5 or 6%. I think we're going to see 2.5 to 3% annualized in the GDP. So again, a moderate, good GDP, getting better. The first quarter, an exception. Let's focus on the second quarter, which we'll start hearing about probably in a very short time frame.
But one thing that's hindering growth in this country is the Obama regulations and the crush of the regulations from this administration. I believe the number is about $1.2, $1.3 trillion a year that we're dealing companies, which of course, companies are not just these big behemoths. Companies pass the regulation, the cost of regulation, onto the consumers, you and me. And this year alone, there's going to be another $110 billion worth of regulations. That stifles economic growth in the end, does it not?
Oh, it does. And I agree with you 100%, is that it's putting a lot of resistance on it. It's kind of like driving a car. The faster you go, the more resistance you're getting. The Obama administration is not business friendly at all. It's hurting the growth of the economy. If we had a different administration, the economy would grow much quicker. I always say, in spite of Obama and his administration, we can still grow because business leaders are very smart. They're fighting through these regulations. It's a shame they have to do that. I wish it wasn't there, but we're still doing okay. We would do much better with a business-friendly administration, though.
And it's a testament to our economy as well, and our businesses, and the moxie of the people who run this economy, if you will. Now, interest rates. Is Janet Yellen painted into a corner here where they cannot raise interest rates? I mean, we keep hearing the saber rattling, but nothing ever happens.
It's kind of true. We do hear that. I think we will see rates rise. They have to rise because, again, we used to be adding money to the economy. They stopped doing that. The next thing now is to see rates rise. We're not going to go from a 2.4% 10-year Treasury to a 6% Treasury, but we'll see rises increase, you know, 0.25% at a time and so forth. And she's a little bit more tepid than Alan Greenspan was, but she will start raising them, I think, in the very near future here.
And so, real quick, 10 seconds left. Stay away from bonds then, because the interest rates will be going up?
Yeah, I want to tell people bonds. Stay away from bonds because a 1% increase in bonds and a 20-year bond that you might have in a mutual fund is going to cost you about 13% decline in your principal. Not a good position to be in, so stay away from bonds.
Well, at some point, those interest rates do have to go up. Brent, thank you.
You're welcome.